He arrived outside the court. He and members of his family waved to the crowd. The mother is to undergo questioning by defense lawyers who are seeking to exclude some evidence before the case goes to trial. That's scheduled for January. The hearing on disputed evidence began on Thursday.
Well, Patrick Snell will be along with the latest from the world of sport after the break.
This information was leaked through transcripts in a grand jury proceeding, where neither my lawyers nor I ever appeared. The information is disgusting and false.
The leaks came out in an ABC News report earlier this month, quoting alleged grand jury testimony. The leaks included lurid allegations from Jackson's accuser of what went on behind closed doors between the boy and Jackson at the singer's Neverland ranch early in 2003. Allegations Jackson denies.
Please keep an open mind and let me have my day in court. I deserve a fair trial like every other American citizen.
The self-proclaimed king of pop is facing a total of 10 counts, ranging from child molestation to conspiracy to commit child abduction, false imprisonment, and extortion. Jackson has pleaded not guilty to all the charges.
I will be acquitted and vindicated when the truth is told.
Because of the gag order on the case, Jackson's statement had to be approved by trial judge Rodney Melville. CNN asked the prosecutors for a reaction, but citing that same gag order, the prosecution declined to comment. Sarah Dorsey, CNN, Atlanta.
7 counts of molestation and 2 counts of giving alcohol to a minor.
We've filed formal charges, a felony criminal complaint against Mr. Jackson.
And then Michael Jackson was arraigned for the first time. At what looked more like a concert than an arraignment, Jackson pleaded not guilty. As the months wore on, so did the investigation. Santa Barbara District Attorney Tom Sneddon convened a grand jury to hear evidence massed against the pop star and to consider new charges.
This case is about one thing only: the complete vindication of a wonderful human being named Michael Jackson.
When the grand jury handed up 10 counts, Jackson had a new lawyer and a new arraignment. He also had a new problem. In addition to molestation, Jackson was now charged with conspiring to imprison and extort his accuser and his family.
I want to thank the community of Santa Maria. I want you to know that I love the community of Santa Maria very much.
Jackson was now facing the reality that 12 people from a small town on California's Central Coast would soon be deciding his future. A year later, after almost 24 pretrial hearings and over 100 search warrants executed against Jackson, the showdown is set for the pop star versus the prosecutor.
Now, these jurors, the 750 jurors, they are going to fill out a questionnaire that both sides, defense and prosecution, will pour through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then next week, they will start questioning the jurors to figure out which 12 plus 8 alternates can spend the 4 to 6 months to be on this trial. Jackson is expected to be here today by himself, no entourage because of space considerations in the courtroom. Back to you.
Beyond the ability to actually serve on the jury for such a long period of time, surely there must be concerns about finding a jury who hasn't heard all the claims and counterclaims already about this case in the media.
Well, that's going to be the difficult part. They have a 7-page questionnaire with yes or no answers that they have to fill out. That will give them, the lawyers on both sides, some sense of the juror knowledge of this case. Northern Santa Barbara County, it's a very rural place. Santa Maria is a fairly small town, farming community, ranching community, fairly conservative area of California. So it's not likely that a lot of people are really tuning in, the hardcore Jackson fans tuning into it. But the question will be, you know, can the defense as well find jurors that they find suitable, who they believe aren't overly conservative and sort of law and order types? Back to you.
Miguel Marquez, thank you.
Among the charges facing Jackson: child molestation, administering an intoxicating agent, conspiracy to commit child abduction, false imprisonment, and extortion. In a statement issued at the weekend, Michael Jackson denied the charges and said leaks from the grand jury were, quote, disgusting and false, unquote. And we will bring you more on this in about 20 minutes in a live report. And we will be back with more of Your World Today after this.
conservative law and order types, people who may have kids, people who may be concerned about kids, work in those sort of professions. The defense may be looking or hoping that they can find sort of a more anti-government set up here. There was wrangling in the courtroom during all the pretrial hearings that the defense wanted to be able to refer to the prosecution as the government, and the people or the prosecution felt that that was a pejorative term. So it seems hopeful that at least it seems that the defense hopes that they can find sort of those anti-government or distrustful government types that may end up siding with Michael Jackson. Of course, that's the other question. Just because you may not like the government, would you then side with Michael Jackson?
Yeah,
Michael?
Yeah, complex. Miguel Marquez, thanks so much, and we will keep everyone informed when the man himself arrives. Let's turn.
Multiple charges of child molestation. On the eve of the trial in California, Jackson issued a statement maintaining his innocence and appealing for justice.
In the last few weeks, a large amount of ugly, malicious information has been released into the media about me. Apparently, this information was leaked through transcripts in a grand jury proceeding, where neither my lawyers nor I ever appeared. The information is disgusting and false.
The jury will have to decide whether the goings-on at the Star's Neverland Ranch were innocent or a dark pattern of child sex abuse. Well, Miguel Marquez joins us now with the very latest. And Miguel, it has to be asked, with all of this exposure, how likely is it that Michael Jackson will get a fair trial here?
Well, it's, you know, the judge, the last pretrial hearing last week, he admonished or talked to both lawyers sort of from his heart. It was the first time we'd seen that from this judge, and he said, everybody, I want you to take a breath. I've noticed it with myself, I've noticed it with the jurors, or with my staff, and I've noticed it with you. Everybody be calm and realize that the entire world is watching. Not just Santa Maria, not just Santa Barbara County, not just California, but the entire world is watching Santa Maria, and they're watching the U.S. system of justice, is the way he put it. And he seemed concerned by what you're seeing on your screen now. Mr. Jackson showing up here. It is a very, very high-profile trial. The charges are very, very serious, and Mr. Jackson could go to jail for a very long time if justice does not prevail in this. So I think the judge is concerned about that, and everything is being done to make sure that Mr. Jackson does get a fair trial. That being said, the process is 750 jurors will make their way through the courtroom today, and they hope to be able to get 12 jurors and 8 alternates from those 750 jurors that we will be able to serve the 4 to 6 months that this trial will take. Before they will be selected as jurors, they'll have to fill out a 7-page questionnaire, and then they will be questioned by both sides, defense and prosecution, as to their ability to be on this jury.
Given that, what will the defense and prosecution be looking for in each side in those jurors? Because everyone will have heard of Michael Jackson, and no doubt everyone's already made up their minds as to his guilt or innocence.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's going to be difficult, obviously. Everybody has heard about Michael Jackson. Everybody sort of grew up listening to his music. We're listening to his music right now as his fans are out here. Certainly, you know, from what we can tell, prosecutors will be looking for jurors who, you know, the typical, the law and order types. They may be looking for people who are in professions of child care, for people who have children, for people who may be concerned about children. Mr. Jackson's lawyers, on the other hand, it's a very conservative area up here. They may be looking for people who may be considered anti-government or libertarian in their politics, people who might not be so willing to trust the government and believe that the government has built this entire case against Mr. Jackson and portray him as a guy who has just gotten railroaded. Rosemary?
All right, Miguel Marquez watching the jury selection as it takes place today. Thanks for that, Miguel.
Times in a matter of hours. Let's get the latest now on the case from Ted Rowlands as he joins us now from Santa Maria, California. The summings up have been done. How did it all go?
Well, it will be sooner than later. Thomas Mesereau, Jackson's attorney, has just finished his closing argument. Now what remains is a rebuttal and then some short jury instructions by the judge, and then this jury will begin the deliberation process. They'll probably have about 2.5 to 3 hours today, and then they'll be back at it over on Monday. They will not deliberate over the weekend, and they are not sequestered for this. Michael Jackson showed up today with his sisters, Janet and LaToya, and brother brothers Jermaine, Randy, and Tito, along with his parents. Jackson visited a hospital briefly yesterday after court. Family spokesperson tells us that he was just getting something to help treat some dehydration. Many fans are worried about his health here, and people say that he has looked very gaunt as of late. But he was on time today, showed up for court. In court today, Thomas Mesereau, Jackson's attorney, called the accuser in this case and the accuser's family con artists, actors, and liars. When talking about the accuser, he pointed out specific testimony during the trial and then said that he flip-flops all over the place because he's a liar. Mesereau told jurors, you must throw this case out where it belongs, and that is out the door. Prosecutor Ron Zonin has just begun his final summation in the rebuttal portion of the closing arguments. He has about an hour to work with. Whether he'll use the entire hour remains to be seen. And following that, the jury will begin the deliberative process as they figure out which of these two drastically different stories to believe. And they will decide Michael Jackson's fate starting at some point today.
Ted, you can never tell what a jury's going to do, of course, but is there any feeling among the legal experts you're talking to about how long they may deliberate for? A long time, short time?
Well, they have 10 counts to mull over, so that in itself is going to present them with some real work to do. It's not just one decision to make. So even if they're on the same page, even if they work well together, it is assumed that it's going to take them more than the 3 hours or so that they'll have today. So the conventional wisdom is that the jury, even if it's running smoothly, will not be able to come up with a verdict too quickly. That said, we were surprised with O.J. Simpson and even in the Scott Peterson case, so who knows? Everybody will be waiting patiently and not leaving their posts, that's for sure, once this the jury starts.
And Ted, during many interviews we've done on this as the trial has progressed, there's been a feeling throughout that the prosecution case hasn't been all that strong. Is that still the sense?
Well, you know, that depends on who you talk to. Ron Zonin delivered a very powerful closing argument yesterday. He was on point and clear. And the points that he did make seemed to resonate with many people in the courtroom. On the same token, the defense has a very compelling story as well. So there are two separate tracks. Either you believe Michael Jackson's a child molester, or you believe that the accusing family and the accuser are lying. And it's either one or the other, and it's up to this jury to decide which way it's going to go.
Ted Rowlands in Santa Maria, California.
Final arguments from both sides in the case. Ted Rowlands is in Santa Maria, California, the site of the trial. Those 12 men and women, good and true, retiring for the weekend. Any sign, any sense of how and what they may be thinking?
No, they just left the courthouse within the last half hour, and they are off for the weekend. They'll have an opportunity to sit with themselves and think over the weekend before they're back at it on Monday morning. They deliberated for about 2 hours. The judge told them to go first, pick a foreperson, and then start the deliberation process. They have a lot of decisions to make. Even if they're on the same page, it's going to take them a while to accomplish their goal in making decisions on 10 separate counts that Michael Jackson faces. On 4 of those counts charges. They also have less to consider, meaning if they find him not guilty on the charge, they then have to find him guilty or not guilty on a lesser charge of providing alcohol to minors. Jackson arrived today at the courthouse with family members. Janet Jackson and his other sister LaToya Jackson were among the group of family members that went into court today. They watched first Thomas Mesereau, Jackson's attorney, finish his closing argument. And as you mentioned, both sides were very passionate in their arguments. Mesereau called the accuser and the accuser's family con artists, actors, and liars repeatedly. He pointed out what appeared to be discrepancies in the accuser's testimony. He highlighted those and said, you must put this case where it belongs, out the door. On the other hand, Ron Zonin, the prosecutor that handled the final arguments for the prosecution, said the idea that this family made all of this up was not likely, given what we know about Mr. Jackson and his history. Zonin finished by playing a videotape of the accuser telling police for the first time molested by Michael Jackson. The jury, eight women and 4 men, got the case, and it is up to them as to which one of these stories to believe. They are dramatically different. Michael Jackson is a child molester, or you believe his family is lying and is trying to extort this international superstar. Becky?